no parking zone. You're talking about ruining your witness. Friends, we got to start respecting and obeying authority. I've found most people are not listening to a sermon. They're watching our lives.
Dad, can you
Quit
lower
looking
that?
for reasons to always buck the system. Start obeying.
Can you lower it, please? Thank you.
Yeah. What if he could go to his friends and say, man, you should have seen that guy when I wouldn't let him in. He threw a fit. He's one way on TV, but no, I know what he's really like.
Wow.
No, thank God I've learned and I'm learning to have a submissive attitude. I'm doing my best to obey and respect authority, knowing that other people are watching, especially our children. I remember a few years back when Jonathan, our son, was about 6 years old. We were driving home from basketball practice one night, and he started asking about the street signs and how I knew where we were going and all these questions about driving. And so I started explaining this to him. And about that time, we came up on this speed limit sign. And he saw the 30, and he said, hey, Daddy, what does that 30 mean? I said, well, Jonathan, that's the speed limit. That's how fast we're supposed to be going. I'll never forget, he leaned up from the back seat, he looked at my speedometer. He said, as innocently as you can imagine, Daddy, how come we're going 45? I thought to myself, why am I teaching him this? But you could hear the concern in his voice. I know exactly what he was thinking. If it says 30, Daddy, why aren't we doing it? And the truth is, I didn't have a good answer. I wanted to say, you're going to have to talk to your mother about this. Finally, I said, Jonathan, I'm just in a hurry to get home. There's really no excuse for it, so we're going to slow down and obey the law. But see, we can't tell our children to do one thing, to respect their teachers, to respect other authority, and then by our own actions, we're not respecting and obeying other people's authority.
No.
We need to be a good example to our children, to our co-workers, to the lady at the grocery store. When it says express lane, 12 items, and then don't go up there with 27 items and say, oh, I just lost count today. Be a good example. I respect the authority in my life. Sure, I may be the boss when I'm up here, but when I get out on the freeways, I got to come under that authority. When I go to the ball field, I got to come under that authority. When I go to the swimming pool and they ask you not to bring drinks in, I'm not going to hide my Dr. Peppers under my towel. When they say no children under 16, I'm not going to take my 10-year-old and just say, boy, he sure looks young, doesn't he? No, I know I'm not going to continue to be blessed. I'm not going to stay in a position of authority until I really know how to stay under authority. And I learned so much of this from my father. When we used to travel overseas to India, Daddy had such respect for those leaders. We would go way back into the villages, and sometimes they would gather as many as 2,000 or 3,000 native pastors. And here Daddy was well known, well thought of throughout India. But when he got there, one of the first things he would do was to meet with the main leaders and just basically submit to their authority. He would ask them, what do you want me to do? How long do you want me to speak? What subjects would you like me to deal with? How can I help you the best? He just did his best to honor them and to come under their authority. And sure, Daddy could have blown in there like a big shot. Here I am, I'm ready to do my thing. No, he just humbled himself, and he had that submissive attitude. In fact, one thing in India at that time was that the women didn't wear any jewelry. They didn't think that was right. And so when we got there, first thing Victoria would do was take off her jewelry. We had any ladies, we'd ask them to take off their jewelry as well. We didn't have to. We could have argued with them. We could have debated it. We could have tried to make a statement to them. Hey, why are you being so legalistic? No, we knew the right thing to do was to just respect those leaders and come under that authority. And my point is, when you go to somebody else's office, somebody else's home, you're on somebody else's turf, they may not do everything exactly the way you used to, but respect them. Don't have that defiant attitude. Well, this is not the way we do it at my office. We can leave 15 minutes early on Friday. I don't understand it. Or this church made me sit over here, and I really wanted to sit over there. At my church, I can sit anywhere I want. Well, have you ever realized you're not at your church? Respect that authority and do it with a good attitude. Ooh, it's getting hot in here today, isn't it? After my father went to be with the Lord, the first few months, we had quite a few guest ministers. We always had these guidelines we asked them to follow. And one thing that was important to us was that they speak a certain length of time. As you know, we have our children's and youth services going. We have parking issues to deal with. And so it's very important to us that we get out on time. Well, we asked this one young minister, a good friend and a very good person, if he would speak for us for 30 minutes and then turn it back over to us. He said, absolutely, I'll do whatever you want. And he got up here in the pulpit, and he was very gracious and very honoring toward us. And he even said publicly at the very beginning, I'm only going to speak 30 minutes tonight. I really want to honor the leadership here. And I realize that anybody can make a mistake, but I'm just making a point. And the funny thing is, 30 minutes came and went. 5 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour and 15 minutes. An hour and a half later, he finally got through. Half the congregation was gone, and the truth is, I wanted to be gone. Our kids had been out for an hour, running around with no parents. I mean, it was a big mess. He told me afterwards, boy, I just really got caught up in the spirit tonight. And I thought to my man, you got caught up in the wrong spirit. Because listen, God is not going to give you a different plan than He's given the leader of that place. And even if you do feel like that you have different direction and you want to do something different, you should at least meet with that leader and submit to their authority and ask them about it. The problem with what he did is unless God split this auditorium wide open and gave us a sound from heaven, we would never invite him back. You know, and if you're not submitting to authority, really you're only hurting yourself. When you're on somebody else's turf, at their home, their business, if it's their seminar, their ball team, come under that authority. Respect, honor, and obey what they're asking you to do. One thing I really appreciate about Victoria, she always respected my authority as the leader in our home. She's got a very strong personality. She's bright. She's got great insight into things. And probably 99.9% of the time, we see eye to eye. We agree. But there are times, like anybody, that, you know, I just don't agree. I say, Victoria, I'm sorry. I do not see it that way. And when it comes down to making the final decision, she always tells me, Joel, you know how I feel. Just do what you think best for our family. And sure enough, I'll do it my way. And Scripture, the wife has to submit to their husbands. But the problem is that husband is not submitting himself under God's authority.